Hey Raiders, Jacko here with another Raid Shadow Legends video. Today, sadly, we're going to be wrapping up our beginner's tutorial series. And as it's a wrap up, we're going to be looking at a lot of little things that don't really fit into their own category per se, but are important to know. So to start that off with, we are going to go to the dungeons here and we're going to look at the potion keeps here. Now, there are 5 potion keeps. And there are 5 different types of potions. Now the potions are there to ascend your champions. If you have a magic champion, they're going to need magic potions from the magic keep. Force champions are going to need potions from the force keep. Void, spirit. There's also the arcane keep here. So the arcane keep is kind of like a neutral keep. All champions need potions from the arcane keep. Plarium actually did something very nice for us in this one, and that's they keep the arcane keep open all the time. The other 4 of the keeps have a rotating day that they are open. So currently the magic keep's open. Next up will be the spirit keep, followed by the force keep, followed by the void keep. Now, all of these are just like your dungeons in that they've got stages. Their stages only go up to 15. And as you can see on the magic keep here, I'm not even at 15 yet. And the higher level, the higher the stage is, of course, the more likely they are to drop the bigger potions. The smallest potions are for your smallest ascensions. Medium potions next up. Biggest potions are for, you need a ton of them for legendary ascensions when it comes right down to it. Again, they also have some random item drops here. Mystery shards, ancient shards, brews, and silver. Really, you want to hit the highest stage you can, unless you're going for something very specific, like just getting 1 ascension on 1 rare champion for a quest or something along those lines, in which case hitting the lower one so you guarantee a bigger chance at the specific lower level potion you're looking at can be useful. I've done it myself for those sorts of things. Now, when it comes to the actual fights in the keeps, they are a little bit interesting. So let's hop into the magic keep here real quick so we can actually show you. And this is actually one of the harder keeps out there. So this is my basic run everything group still that we've seen over and over again at this point during these tutorial sessions. So as with most of the dungeons, the waves themselves are inconsequential. They're pretty simple, they're pretty easy. If you're going to be able to take on the boss, then the likelihood that you're going to have trouble with the waves is negligible. So don't really worry about them, don't build towards the waves at all. Really, you're looking at building towards the boss. And the magic boss is one of the harder bosses. We're not going to go through everything, but as you can see, she puts up this massive shield. Defense up, places a shield buff on this champion for 3 turns at the start of the battle. The value of the shield is equal to this champion's max HP. She also has an ability, places a shield buff on this champion for 3 turns. Places a 50% increased attack, increased speed, increased defense on this champion for 3 turns. The value of the shield is proportional to this champion's max HP. As you can see, it's essentially 50%, probably more like 40%, though we've done some damage, so it's likely 50%. It's a massive shield. And she's going to be putting it up essentially every 3 turns. So the trouble with the magic boss is getting through the shield to actually do real damage to her before she re-ups the shield. It's incredibly frustrating. But as you can see, once you get through the shield, she is soft. She's easy to kill. But as soon as that shield goes back up, things get hectic and annoying again. See? Massive shield again. So the magic boss is actually one of those that you want to consider your team when putting together a team to farm the magic boss. You can brute force it for quite a long ways, as I have here. However, if you have someone that could strip shields or someone that does damage past shields, you're going to have a much better time dealing with her. And you're going to be able to get up to that level 15 quite a bit faster than normal. Especially more than I was able to. It takes forever for me to try and do a stage 14 at this point. I may be able to with some recent upgrades to be able to do it, but I'm not sure. The other one that you need to keep an eye on is the spirit keep. Now I can't actually show you the fight, but essentially what happens is she heals herself for a massive amount every turn. It's a really big heal. So when you're going in to fight the Spirit Keep, you're going to want to have a champion that can put heal reduction, preferably the 100% heal reduction debuff on the boss. I have Cold Heart, so it's not very difficult for me to do it, but not everybody has Cold Heart. So you're going to want to look for a champ for that specific purpose, just to keep the reduced healing debuff up on the boss. Otherwise, it's just a brute force fight. That being said, Arcane, Void, and Force, brute force them. I have not had any problems getting to level 15 on any of those three, just pounding them like a 10 peg. If you can defeat dragons up to 15 or 16, you're going to have no problem on the rest of the Void Keeps. So those are your potion keeps. You're going to want to farm them regularly so that you can ascend your champions. How much and when, that's completely up to you, but do remember this rotating cycle. There have been countless times when I've wanted to level up a spirit champion, and that's the, fourth one to open from where I am. It's very annoying. Eventually, you'll get to a point where you've actually got a ton of potions just built up. So its importance is very variable depending on your account and where you are in the game. Do you have new champions you want to ascend? Are you not too worried about it? So just keep that in mind. Now, we did just open up a weekly. One of the weekly quests is to ascend a champion one time. So keep that in mind. Keep some potions around and some people who maybe you're going to use in faction crypts. And don't ascend them to max immediately. Just slowly ascend them over time so that you can get this done at least once a week. So you've got someone to ascend without actually wasting potions. Next up, and probably the bigger part of this video, is going to be tournaments and events. Now, tournaments and events are practically the same thing with a little change. And they always take forever to load. On Great Connections, anything like that, they always take forever to load. The programming script here is not very good. As you can see, a lot of tournaments have finished. One is up, Dragon's Tournament. So the tournaments are going to be relatively the same all the times you're going through them. If it's a Dragon's Tournament, it's the same things you need for the Dragon's Tournament, and that's getting artifacts out of the Dragon's Tournament, or out of the Dragon's Lair. As you can see, each rank star of artifact gives you a certain amount of points, and each rarity of artifact gives you a certain amount of points. And you're doing your best to gather points. Now, over here on the right-hand side, we have a list of rewards you can get for hitting certain point tiers. Currently, with the 2-year anniversary of Plarium going on at the time of this recording, they're actually dropping fragments from old fragment summons. So that's kind of cool. That's Plarium listened to their player base, and they're giving fragments for people who missed out on those fragment summons. Sadly, my closest is 60 out of 100. I'm not going to be pushing for any fragments in this time period. But anyways, you get points, you get up to the top. Generally, you can't get the very top ones unless you put in some sort of resources. So if you're working on, or if you've been hoarding gems or something like that, you can get in there with that. But if you've been using your gems, or a tournament that you really pushed on has already come and gone, then you're likely not going to get up to the top end. Additionally, with tournaments, they've got this ranking. Now, each person is put into their own group. The groups are random. Sometimes you'll be in with whales. Sometimes you'll be in with noobs. The lower level your account is, there's some bracketing that goes on, and you'll be placed with other people with lower level accounts. So at the very beginning, it's actually a little bit easier to get the first and second and third spot. As you can see, from 10th place up, they have extra bonus drops, essentially extra bonus stuff that you can get. I've frequently placed in the top 10. I think I've placed in the top 1, 2, or 3, like in the first month of play when I was in the easier brackets. Otherwise, these numbers get ludicrous, especially if you have a whale in there who's just, throwing hundreds of dollars at the game. So don't work too hard at these. These are pretty much the only place to get some specific sets of artifacts, which are really nice artifacts in all honesty. So be cognizant of what you're doing when you go into a tournament. Do you want to push? Do you want to push hard? I recommend waiting 24 hours or so after the tournament starts to see if you want to try and take a spot in the top 3. If you've got someone who's in the first few hours has jumped up to like 10 times the max level here, not worth it to push, especially for a free-to-play player. Just don't waste your resources on that. They can be used far better elsewhere. So that's tournaments. Events are almost identical. Again, the same damn load time. I'm really annoyed with this load time. I really wish they would actually fix the events so that they loaded like the rest of the game. They've got the abilities, I'm sure of it. So, events, pretty much the same. You've got point levels, you've got things that you can get at those point levels, and you've got how to get the points here. In a Dungeon Divers event, it's pretty much the same as with the Dragon Tournament. You're getting points for rarity and points for stars on your artifact drops. You can double dip. If I was to go into Dragon and I was to get an artifact, I would get points for both Dungeon Diver and the Dragon Tournament. So, really nice to do. If I was leveling someone up as well, I could get points for leveling them up in the Champion Trainers event all at the same time. So you can get points for a lot of things all at once. There's events and tournament wise, there is pretty much a set of them. There are Dragon Tournament, Ice Golem Tournament, Fire Knight Tournament, and Spider Tournament. You've got Arena Classic Arena Takedown tournaments, as well as a few others. You've got Champion Training events, Dungeon Divers events, Artifact Enhancement events in the events and such. It's pretty easy to just come to this table and see what's going on, but be strategic about it. For example, they're giving us these nice tournaments and events with fragments that we can get, but we do know that starting, I believe, the 16th of March here, we're going to get a whole new fragment summon. Probably Irish St. Paddy's Day themed. So, do I want to spend my resources here and try to get some fragments from old people, or from old champions that I haven't gotten yet, or not? This is your choice. Make it wisely. So, that wraps up our beginner's tutorial series. We're going to go ahead and do an aesthetic overview. And today we actually have a request from Aiden for an old-fashioned knight. We're going to go ahead and pick the big man himself. Yes, he is. Here we are, Septimus. So, Septimus is a badass champ. Just utterly amazing. He is the legendary equivalent of the already practically legendary Coldheart. He does the damage by max HP and everything like that. He is great. If you look at Doom Tower, you're going to see boss runs that have 4 Septimuses in them. It's amazing. He just powers through a ton of content. Armor-wise, he is actually in really, really well done armor. So down at the bottom here, we've got nice greaves. They're pretty utilitarian. And we have sabatons over his boots. Articulated, they're not too high up. He's going to have easy movement and everything like that. He's got articulation around the knee and really good knee cups. In fact, if you can see there, that's the side of the knee flange. That's a very, very useful and common piece of armor. That means that he's not going to get his knee crushed as easily by blows. It's going to shrug off a lot of damage, and it covers the entirety of the side of the knee. He's got full upper leg protection. It's wonderful. On the hips here, since he is using what looks like probably a hard chest plate, he's actually got a chainmail coif, not a coif, a chainmail undershirt. Coif is actually a headpiece. Covers the head, drapes down the neck a little bit. My apologies. He's got a chainmail shirt under the armor, and it's draping far enough down to protect his groin area. He's got a few hard points to protect his hips. Absolutely wonderful. Beautiful filigree on the chest piece. And these rondelles, they don't really do anything. However, they are actually accurate for some time periods in Europe for knightly armor. They're really decorational, but they don't get in the way. And that's a big, big important part. He's actually got gauntlets. Real, live, articulated finger gauntlets. These are honestly the best pair we've seen at this point. They're not too big to get in the way. They have wonderful articulated fingers, making his dexterity quite a bit higher, and that's really niceful with a two-handed weapon like he has. Again, he's got chainmail shirt underneath the hard vambraces and the hard upper armor, so he's going to be protecting all those little skin bits that show, and you do have a lot in armor, so he's not going to get gashes or cuts on annoying places. He's got great elbow protection there. The only thing is these big pieces here on the armor, they're going to get in the way a little bit. He is going to hit himself in the helm. They are not overstated like a lot of people have in this game. They're not going to be brutal on him, but they are going to get in the way here and there. He's got essentially a great helm, as we saw on Raglan. Again, the slits are nice and wide. It's hard to tell whether or not this is actually a great helm, aka has a flat top, or if it's a modification of that with more of a curved top. I would hope for his case that it's a curved top, because that deflects a lot of force when something hits you on the top of the head. It goes skipping down, which is a wonderful thing. He is nicely negating this by putting a crown on it, and the only way that crown is going to stay for more than 30 seconds for a picture is if it's actually attached to the helm. That's a bad idea for Septimus here, is to attach that to the helm. It's going to catch all kinds of blows. It's going to get in his way when he's trying to maneuver his greatsword over his head. But otherwise, and from a jousting perspective, it's very pretty and it's very accurate. He's got gorgeous garb underneath there, so the fabric pieces, purple trimmed with gold. Very nice tooling on the rest of the armor. I'm really hoping that the wings that are coming out of his helm are soft, maybe out of leather or something like that, so they're just going to flop when they get hit. Or that he can actually take that helm, or not the helm, the crown with the flopping pieces off before he gets onto a battlefield. Without the crown, he's immaculate. Sadly, I can't tell you exactly which eras and all each of the pieces come from, because frankly, there is a ton of differences and slight differences in European armor from like the 5th century up to the 18th century. It's insane. There are experts out there that could. I'm not one of them on that particular niche, but I can tell you that his armor is very accurate, very extant, really, and really solid armor. So we're going to go ahead and take off the crown when we're rating him here. So for an armor rating for Septimus, we're going to give him a 5 gourd. Moving on to his weapon here, it's an interesting thing. It's a historic weapon, but it's a little short, unless he's, 7 or 8 feet tall. If he's 7 or 8 feet tall, then this is the correct length for a Zweihander. A Zweihander is a German two-handed sword. You can recognize them by this kind of double crossguard piece. This allows them to carry the blade over the shoulder easily for long marches and things like that. It also allows them to move their hands onto that piece just a little bit. There we go. And get a different grip on their weapon for all sorts of things. You can change the angles your strikes come in by changing your grip on your weapon, the amount of power you have, all sorts of things like that. And the second guard here means that even when he is holding it up there, he is not going to lose hands. He's got gauntlets, which means he's not going to lose hands anyways. It's amazing. I feel a little choked up about the fact that he's actually got gauntlets. If you notice, you can see it. You can't see it very well, but here in the crossguard piece is actually an opening. Now, this is a very interesting adaptation of weapons at a certain point in history, is these open guards. And what they're there for is a very skilled fighter could direct the blow of like a spear or another person's blade down their blade and catch the tip of it in those circles. And with a quick twist of their blade, snap the opponent's blade or the spear. It's incredibly difficult to do, incredibly dangerous to do, but really effective if you're good at it. So historical accuracy is spot on the Zweihander, provided he's 7 feet tall. The swords are generally about 6 feet long, from base of hilt to tip. So, given where it's resting at his eyeballs, that eyeballs is 6 feet. Okay, so maybe he's only 6'6". Anyways, on Septimus's weapon, perfectly historically accurate, very effective in combat. I love wielding great swords on the field. They're a lot of fun. So I'm going to go ahead and give Septimus's weapon a 5 gourd. Overall badassitude, he's a pretty typical knight on the field. If he's good with the great sword, he can be rather scary to certain other classes of fighters. I'm a great sword fighter on the melee field myself. I terrify a lot of people, apparently. And he's got very pretty armor, very protective. So he's actually going to be someone to watch and to keep an eye on the battlefield. He's going to demand some attention from you, even when he's just moving in the backfield. Because of that, we're going to go ahead and give Septimus's badassitude a 4 gourd. So, in our trend lately, we're going to go ahead and for an overall aesthetic look at Septimus, we're going to bump him up and give Septimus a 5 gourd. Again, the crown is... it's decorational. If he's going into a joust, perfectly perfect. If he's going onto a melee field, he's really going to want to modify that crown. But outside of that, his armor is immaculate. He looks great. The choice of essentially gold/bronzes against the silvers is a great aesthetic look. He's immaculate. So, on overall, alright, I said this, we're going to give Septimus a 5 gourd. Anyways, that's going to end it for us for our beginners tutorial series. So next we're going to go into things like champion guides and things along those lines. If you have any questions or comments, anything you'd like to talk to me about, please put those in the comments below. And as always, if you enjoyed the content, please like, subscribe, and toll that bell. It really does help me get more of these videos out to more people. And on a side note, I do take requests for aesthetic overviews. Now, when I'm doing something like a champion guide, instead of doing 2 aesthetics on a champion's guide, I'll only do the aesthetic of the champion I'm doing a guide on. However, when we're doing other kinds of videos, dealing with clan boss or anything along those lines, I will happily make myself a list of aesthetic recommendations that you all have for champions you would like to see, just as we had the last couple of videos. So please put those in the comments below as well. I'll love to hear them. Otherwise, thank you for joining, and I'll see you next time on Jacko's Raider Rants.